Look around at our culture's definition of power. What do we see? We see the billionaire with the private jet. We see the influencer with millions of followers. We see the politician at the podium, commanding the attention of a nation. This is the power we're taught to chase. External, visible, measurable. It's a power defined by control over others, over resources, over opinions. But this power is a mirage. It is fragile, conditional, and ultimately an illusion. That billionaire's power and their sense of self can be wiped out by a single bad market turn. The influencer's power is a hostage to the whims of an algorithm and the fickle opinions of an anonymous crowd. One cancellation, one scandal, and it all vanishes. The politician's power is a loan from the public, subject to the next poll, the next election, the next news cycle. These people are not powerful. They are simply well-decorated prisoners of their circumstances. They are standing on a trapdoor, constantly terrified that someone or something will pull the lever. So if wealth, status, and influence aren't real power, what is? The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca, a man who lived and died at the heart of absolute power, offered a radical alternative. He proposed that real power is not external, but internal. He starts by making a bold declaration about the latent potential that exists within every single one of us. He wrote that it is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Let that land for a second. Your mind, your rational faculty, has the innate capacity to be invincible. This isn't just a motivational quote. It is a statement of philosophical fact based on a crucial Stoic division of the world. Seneca, like Epictetus before him, understood that your rational mind is a separate entity from your body and the world around it. Your body can be sick, imprisoned, or broken. The world can be chaotic, unjust, and cruel. But your mind, the part of you that reasons, chooses, and judges, is a different kind of substance. It's your inner kingdom, your fortress. The Stoics called it the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty. This is the inner citadel we talk about on this channel. Let's do a deep dive into what that fortress actually is. The citadel itself is your core faculty of choice, your will. Its walls are not made of stone, but of reason, logic, and your own chosen principles. The enemies laying siege to your citadel are not armies or events. The enemies are the impressions from the outside world that come loaded with false judgments. An insult is not just words. It's an impression that arrives with the judgment. This is harmful. This is a threat to my worth. A stock market crash is not just a number changing. It's an impression that arrives with the judgment. This is a catastrophe. My future is ruined. These impressions are the Trojan horses. They look harmless, but they carry an army of emotional chaos inside them. The defense of your citadel depends entirely on the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is your reason, and the gatekeeper's only job is to challenge every single impression that arrives at the gates and ask two questions. First, are you an objective fact, or are you a story I'm telling myself? And second, are you within my control or not? A mind with no gatekeeper, a mind that lets every impression and judgment run rampant inside its walls, is not a fortress. It's a city in a state of civil war. This is the state of what modern psychology calls learned helplessness. When you believe your well-being is entirely dependent on external events, you become helpless when those events turn against you. You have given up your power. The unconquerable mind is the one with a vigilant, well-trained gatekeeper. It understands that insults are just the vibration of air molecules, and that their harm is a judgment it can choose to reject. It understands that a financial loss is just a change in external circumstances, not a verdict on one's character. The unconquerable mind is not a mind that feels no pain or avoids all hardship. It is a mind that cannot be forced by any external event to betray its own reason or abandon its own principles. It is a mind that has realized its own inherent power. So, the mind has the potential to be an unconquerable fortress. But a fortress with no one commanding it is just a pile of rocks. This is where Seneca's second crucial point comes in. He describes the person who learns to inhabit and command that fortress. This is his definition of the truly powerful individual. He wrote that he is most powerful who has himself in his own power. This is the actualization of the potential. It's not enough to know your mind can be unconquerable. You must actively take it into your own possession. Self-possession, self-mastery, this, for Seneca, is the ultimate power. To understand this, we must look at the great paradox of tyranny. The person who appears most powerful is often the most enslaved. Seneca's own life was a case study in this. He was the advisor to Emperor Nero, a man who held the life and death of millions in his hands. Nero had absolute external power. He could have anything he wanted, kill anyone he pleased. But was he powerful? No. He was a pathetic slave to his own appetites, his paranoia, his bottomless need for applause, and his terror of being overthrown. His inner world was a chaotic nightmare. Every perceived slight sent him into a rage. Every whisper made him fear a conspiracy. He did not have himself in his own power. His mind was not a citadel. It was a ruin, occupied by the warring tribes of his own passions. Now, consider Seneca. Even when he fell from favor and was living under the constant threat of Nero's paranoia, he continued to write his philosophical works. He continued to master his own mind. When Nero finally ordered him to commit suicide, Seneca faced his death with such calm and rational composure that it became a legendary testament to his philosophy. So who was really more powerful in the end? The terrified emperor on the throne, or the self-possessed philosopher calmly opening his own veins? The man who ruled the world but not himself? Or the man who ruled himself and was therefore indifferent to the world? This is not just a story of individuals, but of civilizations. The historian Thucydides tells the story of the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. Athens was the great external power. It was fabulously wealthy, culturally dominant, with a massive navy and a sprawling empire. Sparta was the great internal power. It was austere, militaristic, and relentlessly focused on the discipline and inner fortitude of its citizens. When a great plague struck Athens, its external power meant nothing. Thucydides describes a complete societal collapse. Law and order vanished. People gave themselves over to every indulgence, believing they would be dead tomorrow. Their minds, their characters, had no fortress. When the crisis hit, the society rotted from the inside out. They did not have themselves in their own power. So how do we do it? How do we move from knowing the mind can be unconquerable to actually possessing that unconquerable mind? How do we become the person who has themselves in their own power? It requires training. It requires practice. First, you must practice the reframe. This is not about thinking positive. This is a ruthless practice of objectivity and separating a fact from a story. You get a harsh email from your boss. The unmastered mind immediately creates a story. I'm in trouble. My boss hates me. I'm a failure. This story creates panic. The self-possessed mind stops. It looks at the email and says, the objective fact is that my boss wrote these specific words. The story that I am a failure is a judgment I am adding. It is not real. Then it chooses a better, more rational story. This is feedback. It is an opportunity to improve. My worth is not defined by this email. This is the work. It is the relentless moment-to-moment practice of being the gatekeeper of your own mind. Second, you must practice voluntary hardship. You cannot know if your fortress is strong until it has been tested. You don't wait for a siege to find out if your walls have holes. The Stoics would deliberately stress test their citadel. You can do this in small ways. Take a cold shower. Fast for a day. Do a hard workout when you don't feel like it. Have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. By intentionally choosing small discomforts, you are training your inner commander. You are teaching your mind that it can endure difficulty, that its peace is not dependent on comfort. You are building your resilience in a controlled environment so that when the real, uncontrolled crises of life arrive, you are already battle-hardened. Third, you must practice what the Stoics called a kind of contemptuous indifference to externals. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about seeing external things, money, praise, criticism, possessions as fundamentally insignificant compared to the state of your own character. Imagine a king walking through a marketplace. He notices the trinkets and the food for sale, but his mind is on matters of state. He is not distracted by the trivialities. Your mind should be the king. Your character is the state. The opinions of others, the fluctuations of your bank account, these are the trinkets in the marketplace. Notice them. Deal with them if you must, but do not let them distract you from your royal duty. The cultivation of a virtuous and unconquerable will. We are all chasing a mirage of power. We believe power is about conquering the world, accumulating followers, or dominating others. Seneca teaches us that this is a pathetic and fragile illusion. The real throne, the only one that cannot be overthrown, is the throne of your own mind. To sit on that throne is to have yourself in your own power. This is not a philosophy of passivity. It is the ultimate source of effective action, because the person who is master of themselves is not swayed by fear, by greed, by ego, or by the need for applause. They act from a place of pure clarity, reason, and strength. Remember Seneca's formula for true power. First, understand the potential latent within you. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. And then, do the work to actualize it, knowing that he is most powerful who has himself in his own power. Stop trying to conquer the world. Stop trying to control others. Turn your attention inward. Conquer yourself. That is the only victory that matters. Thank you for joining us at the Inner Citadel. If this helped you find your own throne, hit the like button and subscribe for more tools to build your inner kingdom. We'll see you next time.